host of the Gridiron.
Well, they're going to put him back on the field again. They benched him, so put him back on the field. Jerome Henderson says, obviously, they put him back on the field, Mr. Banks, because they feel that he gives them the best opportunity to win, yada, yada, yada. So going to be interesting to see, if and when he winds up getting the old heave-ho against the Commanders or not. We'll have to wait and see, right? Going to be interesting to see going forward maybe next year. See, the one thing that just kind of really stinks is because, in a way it's really exciting, but in a way it really, really stinks because we still got, obviously, no kidding, we got some holes still on the team. And I said next year will be so nice because in the draft, right, if we wanted to draft somebody, maybe move Banks over to cornerback number 2, right? Maybe we have to keep Phillips in the slot, move Banks over to cornerback number 2, maybe draft another cornerback in the first round, right? Maybe, I said, move Banks over, right? We could probably use another wide receiver threat, especially if we lose Slayton and if Hyatt can't make it on the field. We really could use a nice defensive tackle next to Sexy. So between free agency, right? Because we'll have some cap space next year. And the draft, we could obviously fill up a few of those holes, right? The one thing is, unfortunately, is that, Daniel Jones is probably going to be gone, so we're going to need another quarterback. And, how are we going to get our hands on a quarterback next season? Do they have visions of getting is there a free agent out there, that they have their eyes on, or, you don't know if they're going to be able to jump up into the top 5 and grab a quarterback or what, you don't know. So, but unfortunately, if that winds up being the case where the Giants have to jump up, to grab a quarterback, that could cost them some of their draft picks. So, unfortunately, some of the holes that we have on our roster now may not get filled in the draft because we're going to have to spend a lot of draft capital on getting the quarterback. So we'll have to wait and see. But maybe they might do something along the lines of what they did with Eli back in 2004, right? They traded away their first-round pick, to get Rivers, but they kept their second-round pick, which wound up being Chris Snee. So that's possible. They might go if the Giants picking whatever 10th, and they're jumping up to number 4. Just throwing numbers out there, no idea, right? And they're going to trade away a first-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, and then a second-round pick or something, whatever. Maybe it might be the first and second-round pick for next year. They might want to keep the second-round pick for this year, something like that. That's what they did with Eli. Right? They didn't give up their second-round pick. They kept it. They said they wound up drafting Snee in the second round. Right? So in 2004, they wound up with Eli and Snee. So they did pretty good there. But as I said, we'll have to wait and see because you're not sure how they're going to go with Banks. Banks, take his punishment and put the big boy pants on and start playing some really good football. I don't know how many times you're going to be yanking this guy. It's going to get a little bit ridiculous after a while. Every other game, we're yanking him, we're putting him back out there, we're yanking him, putting him back out. Yeah. He did pretty good against Seattle, but then, the games in between that hasn't been very good. So, wait and see. But apparently, they are going to keep him out there. I said, Jerome Henderson, when they were talking about talking with the assistant coaches, Giants are rolling with cornerback Deonte Banks. Gives us the best chance to win. So, and he does. He does. But we'll have to wait and see. Does he give it his best effort? Does he miss tackles? Right. Giants' second-year cornerback Deonte Banks will be back in the lineup this week against the Commanders after getting benched at halftime on Monday night. Banks was once again cited for a substandard effort by the coaching staff, who made a decision to replace the 2023 first-round pick with Greg Stroman, oh my goodness, for the remainder of the game. I think he'll be ready to go, head coach Brian Daboll said. Obviously a tough challenge with the number 17, obviously Terry McLaurin over there, who's done a great job. He'll have a good week here. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Giants defensive backfield coach Jerome Henderson told reporters on Friday that he thinks Banks has hopefully gotten the message from the benching. So we'll have to wait and see. Because we think he gives us the best chance to win, Henderson said when asked why the Giants are going back to Banks this week. Otherwise, why would we not start him? Hopefully he got the message from the Pittsburgh game and we've moved on. We're going to give him a chance to go out and show the player that he is. Banks will be charged with traveling with McLaurin again this week. He got the better of the Washington star in first meeting, holding him to 22 yards on 6 receptions. Guy didn't even average 4 yards a catch. So, and once again, Banks can be really good, right? There was no clear-cut reason what the last straw was that led Banks to the benching. So that, he didn't come out and basically said it and say what it was. Was it that the George Pickens play in the end zone that Dexter Lawrence was critical about, or perhaps the play where Najee Harris hurdled Banks? That was embarrassing. It appears to have been a series of events going back weeks. Henderson had seen enough and had decided to make a change. Just didn't feel he was, or he has consistently played up to expectations the organization has for him, drafting him where he was. So I wanted to really get his attention with the benching, that we expect more, he said. I want to see him in those moments be brighter, be bigger. That's why we drafted him. That's why I know he has in him. I want him to do it consistently and get at a high level all the time. He has it in him to do it. It's my job to get it out of him. Typical Giants, taking 2 steps back before taking a step forward. Hopefully for them, this will be the last we'll be hearing about the Banks' efforts. Well, let's hope. Who knows? He does, obviously, give, if he plays up to his standards and all that. I mean, he's had some good moments. He's had some good games. I mean, he did very well against Seattle. But, nothing can be given to him, right? He has to go out there and earn it. And so we'll have to wait and see. But, I mean, it's how many times are you going to bench the guy? And also it's kind of like, it's like the boy who cried wolf. If you keep benching him, well, good. But if you keep putting him back on the field, it's, you bench him after halfway through the game and he doesn't play the rest of the game. I'm sure that pisses him off, but he's like, I'll be back on the field next week. Why? Because I give him the best chance to win. And so, I mean, somewhere along the line, you bench him. It's like, well, I'm sorry, pal. There's the bench. Maybe we'll see you next year. Right? You want to start playing football? We'll see you next year. Yeah, but don't plan on playing anymore this year. I mean, so somewhere along the line, if you bench a guy, it has to be, for good. You just can't bench him and put him back out, bench him and put him back out. But, so we'll have to wait and see. Not exactly sure, what it is. If it's just a lack of effort, the bad tackling. But, when Sexy Dexy goes out of his way and says something, that's not a very good sign. That's not a very good sign at all. Then it also says all eyes this week will be on. There's another one here. Yeah, I mean it's just the Giants have just the past whatever it's been it's from 16 to 23, whatever that 8 years or whatever. I mean, we drafted cornerbacks in the first round, and right. The Giants, at least in recent years, have a problem with first-round cornerbacks. I don't know. It is amazing, it really is. Right. So you go back to Eli, the head case, Eli Apple, the 10th overall pick. in the 2016 draft who was benched and suspended during the 2017 season for both poor performance and detrimental conduct and lasted only 3 seasons with the franchise. There was the alleged criminal that was Deandre Baker, the 30th overall pick in 2019, who was cut after 1 season following charges for multiple felonies. And now there is the enigma that is Deonte Banks, who has had up and down 2 seasons since becoming the 24th, I thought it was the 25th, well, whatever, overall pick last year. Giants benched him during the second quarter of last Monday's 26-18 loss against Pittsburgh, although it's unclear exactly why. Let's see. Brian Daboll said, just thought during that series we needed a little bit more, head coach Brian Daboll said. Had a conversation with him, and we went with the other guys. Banks displayed a clear lack of effort on plays against the Cowboys and Eagles in the previous 3 weeks. Yet Daboll refused to publicly criticize Banks and continued to insert him into the starting lineup. So it was puzzling that the week where Daboll finally decided to make a drastic move in the game with Banks, he did so essentially with no transparency. Banks' final snap against Pittsburgh resulted in the University of Maryland product making a big hit on Pickens to prevent the wide receiver landing both feet in bounds, forcing the Steelers to kick a field goal. So he had that, and then the next play, you take him out of the game. Right? Banks said they took me out because of missed tackles, who then clarified that it was a combination of effort and technique issues. So we'll have to wait and see. He did have a poor tackle attempt on a 3rd down catch by Pickens earlier in the drive, but none of Banks' snaps appeared to be egregious as what transpired in previous games. Still, it was enough for the Giants to turn to practice squad corner Greg Stroman for the rest of the game. I mean, that's embarrassing. I mean, whew. Defensive tackle Sexy Dexy, who was screaming at members of the Giants secondary during the game, later said he took issue with Banks' effort on the near touchdown, but would keep encouraging the 23-year-old. I think I'm a little frustrated because we're a good team and we keep beating ourselves, Lawrence said. We can't have that, and I addressed it. We've just got to mentally focus and be locked in on every play, not just plays here and there. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I mean, somewhere along the line, one of these times you bench the guy, it's got to be, for basically for good. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, I mean, the guy, he can play, but it's got to be on a consistent basis. I mean, if you're going to take time off, you do that after the game's over, when you're at home and you're watching Netflix. That's when you take some time off. You don't take time off during the game. It's just not happening. Yeah. Even Jerome Henderson said the same thing. He said, Jerome said Jerome was, wanted the guy too. He was one of the guys, Wink wanted him too. But Jerome, I think he said Jerome met him before they drafted him and all that. It was oh yeah, good guy. I'd love to have him. And also, Jerome was kind of also saying in a way, not only has Banks failed, but Jerome has failed too, because I'm the coach. I'm supposed to get the best out of him, and we're not. So that's also on me too. So he might have failed, but I failed too. So we'll have to wait and see. So let's keep your fingers crossed, because I mean, it's just you spend these. High pick on a cornerback, and we got him benched. We picked number 7 on an offensive tackle, and he's freaking benched. It's like, my God, it's just oh.